Hello, Internet. I'm HamsterBomb.
And I'm Timothy.
And this is HITBOX, the gaming podcast where we talk about whatever the heck we feel like talking about. And today, I have, as you can see, Kim with me, or here if you're just listening to us. We are going to be doing a different style one of these. If you have noticed from the last time Kim was on here, Kim likes lists, and she loves making lists.
I do love making lists. It's one of my favorite pastimes.
So she ended up making a few lists that we're going to be going through today, and I helped her contribute with these because these are odd lists that you would think nobody would care about. This one, we're talking about side characters in video games, because we had, of course, you want to do like, oh, who is the best main characters or the best antagonists, right? But no, we wanted to jump first into doing the weird stuff, the side characters.
And the best part about making lists like this is you never realize you have an opinion on it until someone else states their opinion on it.
Right, so we're going to talk about what makes a side character so good and what makes a side character so very bad. And while we do so, if you're joining us on the visuals, I'm going to be running around in Pokemon Legends, literally just running around, and we'll just like have fun. Maybe I'll pass by a shiny. If I do, I'll make a video of it later after this comes out, so you'll never know if I actually do find anything in this or not. So it'll be a fun little thing to watch while we run around. And while we talk about the good characters, I figured let's go to the nice little coastal area, you know, and then we're gonna go to the nice nasty marshland when we're done. So
yeah, first we want to sit down and define what makes a side character a support character, what makes them good.
Right, we were not even sure what we wanted to call this, because at first I was like, okay, we're going to do supporting characters, but what's the difference between a supporting character?
The first I said was companion characters.
Right, companions, which, yeah, that's kind of weird. We have a couple honorable mentions we're going to discuss really quickly, just so that...
Yeah, and then supporting characters is what I had mentioned earlier, and then some of them, well, that doesn't really work for a worse list, considering none of them are supportive. So at least we know that makes what makes a bad side character. So
there's a lot that makes a bad side character, and we will get into that. But just to try and we're going to be positive first. We're going to talk about some good ones.
So
ones that didn't make the list. We only have a couple.
We only have two on our honorable mentions list, although I'm sure there were more if we sat down and really thought about.
Yeah, this list was more of us thinking, like, what makes them so awful? So, of course, like, the bad stuff happens, like, what we spent the most time on thinking.
And one of the things that came up in our discussions about what these lists are that what's the difference between the side character and a main character, because there are a lot of characters that are there but are really important to the story, and if they weren't there then you wouldn't have a story.
Yeah, so
and that's a lot of...
We'll get to that when we do a main characters one of these. Hopefully we will get to. But just for now, yeah, if they were... I don't want to try and define it too much, because when we get to our list...
because we got to explain why we consider them more of a
just tell us a couple honorable mentions, and I think it kind of helps explain that.
One of my first honorable mentions was Ryuji from Persona 5. He was just an honorable mention because...
He was originally on your list of one of the best.
He was originally on my list.
I think he was the first one you named, too, when you were like, I need to do a best side characters so I can talk about why Ryuji's so great.
I think a lot of what makes Ryuji such a great side character is his English voice actor is just phenomenal, and he adds a lot of lightheartedness, but still a lot of, I guess, compassion and understanding for other characters.
You'll recognize him as the same voice as, what's his name in One Punch Man? That guy. Saitama. What the heck? There's a Murkrow underwater.
He's fine.
This is, okay.
He's not drowning, he's fine.
Oh, this game.
So yeah, I wanted to mention Ryuji on there because, like I said, he always adds a lot of character to your cutscenes. He's the person you can relate to if you're really not understanding anything that's going on. Ryuji's right there with you.
It'd be one that you really just need to experience the game to understand the character. And like to see why he's so great, but honestly, so he's great because like he's funny, he's voiced really well, and he's just a good like companion to the main character, who in this case
balances you really well.
You're silent, so he kind of like adds all the character and personality when you're protagonist isn't really saying much.
And I'm not saying that the other side characters in Persona 5 aren't great, because
no, but they all serve different. They all
but-
serve different purposes. And
Right.
if anything, Ryuji probably has the weakest side story of like a character arc in Persona 5. But that's not why we're talking about him. We're talking about him because of what he adds to the game.
I think he helped balances out your character. And,
Yes. He's almost like the sass and the voice of your character when you otherwise wouldn't have had one.
Right, but he's totally just an honorable mention.
Yep. So we have
he's not even on our list.
Yeah, and there would have been a million more if we kept this going, but just as a quick example of another really good side one, you need to be moving on here to our next one.
So the next one that we had mentioned, we wanted to say was Aerith from FF7. I don't know. I still kind of fight with this as her being more of a main character because she does seem essential to the story.
Kind of, but at the same time, that story is really all about Cloud.
Right. And
I think
that's
so.
That's what you were saying. Like it's more about Cloud than anything else.
Yeah, but it's also a lot of those characters all together. So that's about as far as we're gonna push it for side character.
My other one that we had talked about was also Cosmos from Xenosaga, and we had established that she was more of a main.
Yeah, even though the main character is technically Shion, so you might be shocked like you go through this. Wow, Kim didn't talk about Cosmos; it's her favorite series. But no, that was just the end of that. If you know,
right? Because
we're gonna probably get to that later. I'm gonna consider that Cosmos is a main character.
Right, and it's more or less because your main character, if they weren't there, you wouldn't have a story kind of thing.
You're right.
What we were going back to again. So let's move on to our list. Those were just our honorable mentions to get us warmed up. And
all right, so that's just an example of like where we're going with these. All right, so number 5.
So clearly 5 being our least favorite.
Yeah, they only get better and better.
Our number 1.
We know how top 5s work.
Number 5 on our list is Wheatley from Portal 2.
I've still not even gotten a chance to talk about Portal on my channel yet.
And it's a little sad because Portal is a wonderful series.
Series? Yeah, I don't know about that.
So
pair of games that are neglected, grossly neglected.
One of the great things about Wheatley, and this is, I should say, why he was better than Ryuji, but he almost serves the same purpose as Ryuji, is to like complement your character and give your character a voice, but you know, he leads you through everything. He's funny. Voice actor's phenomenal again. So
yeah, he's great. Also, without trying to spoil too much about it, like he's involved in the story in some pretty amusing ways, and he does a lot to make the game more interesting, which is something that is really good for a side character. Right. You really just want them to not just like define what the game's going to be all about, but help support it and make it more interesting.
So it's another one of those things. If you took Wheatley out of Portal 2, you wouldn't really have much of a game.
You'd kind of have Portal 1.
You would just kind of have Portal 1 again.
Yeah,
so it's
which is fine. Portal 1's really good, but Portal 2 is just, you know, more. And it's adding so much more to it. I'll actually be reviewing that soonish, so I'll eventually get to talk about Portal,
but yeah, I think that's why
Wheatley does do a great job.
He gets on that list as number 5, you know. Next is Quarble from The Messenger.
Yeah.
So this is a little bit different one.
I've not gotten to say anything about The Messenger,
and you absolutely adore that game.
Yeah, I totally will be reviewing that at one point. So just because, you know, if it sounds like a game you haven't heard of, because it is an indie game, however, it is outstanding. The team doing it is also working on the new game Sea of Stars. And Messenger was their first game. So it's kind of like a Ninja Gaiden game, but it's also got some really weird, crazy quirks to it. And so obviously in a game sort of like Ninja Gaiden, you would die a lot, right? So that's where Quarble comes in and why he is so great. He's effectively a character who is kind of made specifically to justify the fact that you're going to die a lot in this game and make it so you don't feel bad about it and you kind of like laugh at this ridiculous character.
Right.
So
although I mean, I think for some people it came off as very I don't know, just like they were getting tired of it. But the thing is, Corbel is meant there to be amusing.
He's supposed to be funny. I always thought he was hilarious.
I always thought it was funny,
so basically,
and it made it lighthearted.
So what Corbel does is he's this like little devil, like weird, almost chibi, like weird looking devil thing. And he makes a pact with you, and every single time you die, he will resurrect you for free, on the condition that for like a minute or so after you are brought back to life, he is going to take your money for a while and just like start stealing money from you. And the best part is he will creatively insult you on the loading screen based on how you died. And that's like the best part.
It's so funny. Like, I feel like you see that and you don't take things as seriously when you die.
Yeah, exactly. It's like
a ton of times.
You fall into like a spiky pit, and he'll make some like snarky comment about like how you fell into like a pit, or like, yo, did someone tell you that was a trapdoor or something? Like he's
Right.
he's like a troll mocking you, and it's really funny. I don't know. That could clearly have been written in a way that like would have made it not come across correctly, but I think pretty much all of them are written really well to where Corbel, even though he's not even voiced, is just hilarious. He's a great character.
And you're not like... Think how boring it would be if you just had something lighthearted that just brought you back to life.
Yeah, that
and,
would
like,
suck.
Gave you, I don't know, words of encouragement. I mean, that's not fun.
Yeah, it's like reverse psychology. The game is encouraging you to keep on going by picking on you. And since there are so many things for him to say, because they know that you're going to die a lot, there's so many different things that he could possibly say. You're going to keep going, almost just to see when he runs. And I think he actually has a comment saying, "You're just dying on purpose to see if I run out of things to say, aren't you?" and he still won't.
And one of the things that put him on this list as one of our side characters is because we had talked about how some side characters influence your gameplay and how it can improve your gameplay, not just story. Because Corbel has like nothing to do with the story, really.
Yeah, he really doesn't.
So
he's there just to justify a game mechanic of bringing you back, but also he's encouragement. He's funny. That's all a lot of really great stuff for just defining how you want your characters
don't
to be.
think we're just looking at like their side, like how they've influenced the story kind of aspect
Right, so
of it.
mostly like we're listing these characters, so we're saying what makes a character a good side character, and I think Corbel is checking a lot of those boxes in really weird, unconventional ways too. Like you wouldn't think like the character who's like basically not for you at all. He's just there to steal your money. He steals your money and he makes fun of you. That's what this character does. But he's great.
Which brings us to our number 3, which is another character who really supports gameplay, and that is Kazooie from Banjo and Kazooie.
This was probably the most where we were like, does this actually count as the main character or a side character? And I am currently on the stance that this is a side character.
I think she supports... she balances Banjo once again. It's one of those characters where you've got this nice, sweet, loving little bear... And
who the game was designed around. The game was designed for Banjo. Yeah, and then Kazooie
came later in development.
Right,
so.
They were trying to make a, like, well, it doesn't make sense that you could double jump in this 3D platformer. Well, he's got this little bear. This little bear has a backpack. How about we make little wings pop out of the backpack? And then people, the developers thought, oh, well, we should add some personality to the wings. Isn't that a character? And that's where Kazooie kind of emerged from. An excuse for the bear to use a double jump, which I think is already cool enough. That's like they're trying to explain how a double jump works. He's probably the only character in games who has an explainable double jump.
Right. And
it's because
the
of
great
Kazooie.
thing, that's one of those things that we're saying, like, side characters, that she improved the gameplay. I think she improves when you do have dialogue, I think she's a lot of fun in those aspects. And
she's hilarious.
Really
she's like the opposite of Banjo. Yeah.
She compliments Banjo well.
A compliment? Yeah, sure.
I call that compliment.
Yes.
Balancing and complimenting.
By being extremely rude and snarky and funny. Our best ones, we have a lot of that going on, don't we? I just realized so far.
Because your main characters are always like the sweet, innocent ones in some cases.
Or the silent ones. And then you have the one who's actually saying what we're all thinking.
And this next one, I'm not going to be able to talk to as much, but number 2 on our list is Frog from Chrono Trigger.
Oh, Frog. Chrono Trigger in general is just an outstanding game.
And this is another one of those cases where we're like our RPG characters on your party side or main, and it's... Yeah,
that does get a little hairy. Like, I mean, would you count the main character as just the one that you're pretty much starting with and following? Like, Chrono should be the main character of Chrono Trigger, correct? But I am not really sure because all the characters get a lot of screen time in that game, and they all have different motivations. They have different side plots that you can pursue, and they're optional too. Like, not all of them you have to do to pursue through the whole thing. Yeah.
That's what you were saying about Frog when you're making that argument, was it was an optional story.
Yes, and what's really cool about Frog is his story in particular. One, I just really loved the character, Frog, who, I'm not going to spoil too much of Chrono Trigger here. I'm going to try and dance around this so that you guys can play it, because it's a Super Nintendo game, and it's freaking old, but at the same time, it's not like it's easy to get your hands on. Probably the easiest way now is the Nintendo DS version, because you still can't even play this on NSO, which is a shame, but it's a Square Enix RPG. And so, Frog, how do I even describe this? So basically he was a human who was like, he always felt like he wasn't good enough. He was like trying to be a knight, and he basically gets cursed by somebody into being a frog, and he like is living in shame, though he's still trying to redeem himself and fight through what he like his current predicament of being a frog, but also being like that Frog Prince Knight kind of style character. And like throughout the story, he will like grow and change dramatically till eventually he almost kind of overtakes Chrono as the main character if you let him, where he'll get so strong through certain quests where he will get basically what's considered the ultimate hero sword, and it's not your main character, it's Frog who's the main character, and he's thinking like, this is so weird, because, you know, he's feels like he's undeserving of this, and eventually he gets to the point where he can overtake, like find the person who cursed him, overtake them, and even find it in himself to have them join the party, which is something really crazy that you wouldn't expect to have happen, but it does. And it's the fact that like you can customize and like sculpt so much of his story based on what you choose to do as the main character. Does that make sense?
Right, so you're influencing a lot of his story by being the main character.
Yeah, the main character based on your choices and what you do. And another really cool thing about Chrono Trigger is based on who is in your party, they will have different discussions when you reach any point in plot, anyone's side quests, anything like that. So whatever your current team of party members is, that's who's going to be talking and, you know, sculpting their story.
You could talk about Chrono Trigger all day.
I could. It's and I will eventually. That one I will definitely need to review at one point.
So Frog's our number 2.
Frog is outstanding. just me. Chrono Trigger is outstanding. If I have to stand out from Chrono Trigger, it is Frog. So there you have it.
So our number 1 on the list is one of my personal favorites, and that is Ciri from The Witcher 3: The Wild Hunt.
Yes. And I did agree. If you take Ciri out of The Witcher 3, you still have a great game.
Right, and honestly, I had just thought, if you take Ciri out of Witcher 3, you have Witcher 1 and 2. So...
Kinda, yeah.
I mean, as much as I love Ciri, and I would never, ever want her to not be...
She adds to the game. She's not, like, the game. Even though a lot of the main quest is finding Ciri.
Right.
It doesn't mean that... she defines the entire game.
No, but I think she elevates the story.
I agree.
She changes our gameplay up, because at certain points you can play as Ciri, and she plays different than Geralt, and because of that,
she's a lot of fun.
Elevating, you know, and changing our gameplay, changing our dialogue options, and even altering the ending of the game.
Yes, drastically. But she's also just, as a character, the way she's written, she's just a really great character in general.
She is wonderful. I mean, she's one of those characters who's stubborn and will fight for what she thinks is right, which is always wonderful. And you can't tell her what to do. You just can't. It doesn't.
I think that's what helps as like her being a side character is because she's kind of uncontrollable and just does her own thing. The only times you play as her are when you're kind of like revisiting like a memory of another character telling you what happened, and then you go and just so you have something to play instead of listening to their story.
Right, and it's just one of the things that makes her so wonderful. And she is our number one for so many reasons, and I feel like we do need that podcast where we can just talk about Witcher in general. Talk about everything Witcher, and because we have strong opinions about all of it.
Yeah, sure. Just because I reviewed the games, I played the games, and that's not good enough. I need to do more.
Exactly. You reviewed the games, you're reading the novels,
yes.
You're watching the Netflix series. We're playing Monster Slayer on the phone.
Yep. And I need more Witcher.
So we need more Witcher. You're reading the comics now, too.
Yep.
So, yeah.
But so there clearly could be a lot of other great
stories with
side characters, that we haven't even mentioned on here. And there were too many. We were honestly like mostly starting this list because we were like, okay, we want to talk about bad side characters, but it's not fair to just talk about bad side characters. We got to talk about what makes some good first. So to talk about what makes some good, we gotta go through the good ones before we do the bad ones.
And this worst one, I was telling Alex earlier today, I look at this list and it makes me want to vomit.
Oh, the bad characters?
The worst.
This is probably going to be the rest. Yeah, that's probably a good transition. All right, we talked about good stuff. We're not all about complaining and pissing and moaning around here. Let's talk about some bad stuff now, because this...
Well, first we got to bring up our wonderful honorable mentions list.
Oh, right, yeah.
Worst side characters.
And how many honorable mentions made it to the bad side characters?
5.
And these were ones that we were like, honestly, they're deserving to be on the list, but they had to get booted off because they're just not as bad. So think about it like this. When we list these characters, and they're all bad, just imagine the entire top 5 list coming up is all worse than this.
They have created crimes against video gaming in general.
They're just atrocious. So
these are not in any particular order.
Yeah, the honorable mention, just an honorable mention. Who in any
this is a wonderful one Alex brought up, and that's Louis from Pikmin.
Well, specifically Pikmin 2 and 3.
2 and 3. Okay,
yeah.
I didn't know which one he showed up in. I thought it was 2, but I wasn't too sure.
God, Louis is awful. The thing is, he's not nearly as bad as the rest of our list. He's just like, he's designed to be a bad character.
Also designed to be a bad character, which isn't a good thing. You do not have to intentionally write bad characters.
I know, but he's kind of designed to be comic relief, but at the same time...
He's so frustrating.
Yeah, he's actually frustrating. He gets in your way, he impedes your progress.
You see the distress in Olimar's face.
Yeah, but basically, like, you're teamed up with a complete imbecile who just wants to eat. He's like, self-sabotaging your efforts. He is the worst.
In Pikmin 3, he steals all of your food. He just steals all your food. Your original party. Like, what is this madman doing?
Yeah, he's not even a part of your team. You go to rescue him, and you save him, and then when he wakes up, he steals all your food and he runs away.
And your rubber ducky. Anyway.
Yeah.
Another honorable mention is Ashley from Resident Evil 4.
Oh my God.
I've heard there are a lot of strong opinions about Ashley out there.
Yeah, so Ashley, she's just kind of like, it doesn't help that she has kind of one of those squeaky voices that's kind of irritating, but it's mostly the fact that she kind of personifies the character that you have to protect. You have to go through environments and keep them safe, and she just kind of follows you, and the best thing she can do is hide in a dumpster.
See, that actually reminds me of Prince of Persia: Sands of Time.
Yeah.
You do get a female character who essentially is doing that exact same thing. It's that character.
The Ashley character.
That is there, that follows you, that doesn't really help.
Right. She is no help at all. Though, because there's other characters, like, if you're gonna say, like in Bioshock, Elizabeth will actually, like, throw you goodies sometimes. She might hit you in the face with them, but she's actually like helping you out, even though she serves the same Ashley role. So, and actually, I would say that she's actually written much better than Ashley. Ashley's just kind of there. Because also remember, she's in a horror game, so think of the stigmas we have to deal with of squeaky voice, can't do anything, please protect me character.
Making bad decisions every
Yes,
turn.
oh my, and getting kidnapped constantly, and falling for traps constantly. That's Ashley.
That's Ashley.
That's just Ashley.
Next is Eslo from the Minish Cap.
This was one I had to put on this list. You have not played Minish Cap.
I have not played Minish Cap.
Okay, I'm not even that far in Minish Cap, but the reason I didn't want to play it years ago, because I'm just finally getting to it now, was because I really didn't like the idea of the character Eslo. I thought it was kind of weird and obnoxious.
Right?
Yeah, it's the actual hat. Your hat, your green hat, has like a like a weird parrot beak top thing. I hate it. I hate it. It doesn't even have a voice. It just like pops out, and it's like, imagine if you had Banjo-Kazooie, and this is actually a great comparison. We just talked about Kazooie. Imagine you had Banjo-Kazooie, but no Banjo, and you had a silent protagonist with Kazooie. That sucks. Like, that just sucks. Like, do you understand? It's like, it's just badgering you, and
like,
it's I hate
that balance. You need
you need the balance. Otherwise, oh dang it, I didn't mean to call mine there.
And then the next one, these are just honorable mentions.
You were supposed to honorable mention. Everybody else is worse than this.
It's worse than this. Next,
and a lot of people do like Eslo. That one's it's just me, but I cannot stand Eslo.
Which is also why some things ended up on our honorable mentions list.
If the character is so bad that it makes you want to stop playing the game, you got a problem.
Right, but it's also like, I could see somebody liking this character ends up on the honorable mention, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, we can't say.
But like, I can't see people liking any of the ones that we have in our actual top five.
Definitely not.
Like, no, I think they are universally hated.
Like,
so we'll get
they
there.
are memes universally
hated. Yes, memes universally hated. And luckily we agree with how meme-worthy
another one
they
on
are.
our honorable mentions list is Hop and Hal from Pokemon.
Oh, this, I cannot believe we had so many bad, but so many bad characters that we actually took those two off of our list. That's how bad this list is gonna be. So, Hop and Hal. Now, basically, this is the, I can't believe I have to say this, rival characters from Pokemon Sun and Moon and Sword and Shield, which are basically the exact same character down to the animations.
Oh boy.
They use the exact same animations and everything.
I think I've seen those
side-by-sides. So, now I'm just gonna stop with Hal first. Hal is a gopher child. He has this ridiculous face, you just want to punch him, and he like here, this is where you have a silent protagonist and an obnoxious little twerp who says he's your best friend, and since you're silent as a protagonist, you can't voice how much you hate him. And you're just like stuck with, it's like you're a mute stuck with this awful kid.
Our honorable mention,
and you can't get rid of him.
Alex has so many opinions.
I know, and now how can you make this possibly worse? That's Hop in Sword and Shield. What's worse with Hop? Hop is the exact same thing, except he's got a written out, thick accent. And it's hard to even understand sometimes what he's even saying. And like, it's just so off. It's like the same form of like, please just go away. I don't want anything to do with you, but he like holds your hand through the entire game and will not go away. And like, the game's not about him, but he makes it about him because he won't leave. That is a bad character.
Still an honorable mention.
Still just honorable mention.
We gotta keep moving on.
I'm trying.
I added one more to this list right before we started to record.
Yeah.
Actually, and that is Chaos from Xenosaga. And I don't know if it's so much that he's a bad side character or he just got done dirty. Okay, so he's pretty much a no-name character in the first Xenosaga.
Yeah, that's...
He is just there. You do not know why.
However, he has... Actually, he's probably one of the characters... I don't think I mentioned him at all in my reviews until the very end of 3, because that's the only time that he actually does anything.
That is the only time when he makes a difference.
Yeah.
You don't know why he's there through all of one.
You think about it, you're playing 3
there.
JRPGs, and you don't know why you have a party member.
That's just terrible.
He's there. And here's the worst part. When they introduce him, they show him having this ridiculously OP ability that he never,
that you would want.
Never
that
uses.
That would save people's lives.
Oh yes, it would have saved people's lives, but he will not use it for some reason. I don't know why.
Nobody tells you. He just does it and then never does it again.
His outfit also really bothers me.
I hate his outfit in one. His stupid little shorty shorts.
Yeah.
You know, like the athletic shorts that men would wear in like the 80s, 90s.
Yeah.
Where they're almost riding up your butt.
Yeah.
And
Almost.
then in 2, you can flamenco dance with him?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's
2, we forget about 2 just for the better.
3, it's not like
his justification. I feel like because the Xenosaga series, if you don't know, was intended to be 6 JRPGs long and got shortened down to just 3. So I kind of feel like his story was one of the things that got cut.
But it should have been some mention in 1. You can't go through an entire game and not know why you have this.
I know, that's messed up. That is really messed up. Because we spend a lot of time justifying other characters in the other ones, but yeah, they don't.
Like
he really is just ignored.
Has a story for why they.
It's like a character. It's like a "Why are you here" character.
And that drives me crazy.
Yeah.
So that brings us to. Those were just our honorable mentions. If I haven't said that enough.
Yep.
The list.
Now let's make things get bad. The list. Number 5.
Number 5
worst,
on the worst side character. Handler from Monster Hunter.
The Handler. Think about it. You thought she'd be number 1, didn't you? No. She's just 5.
She's 5.
And we had to sit there and think about this. We actually went like, is this one worse than this one? Is this one worse than this one? So we thought about this order, and yes,
Handler.
We really have 4 more worse than the Handler.
Yeah, 4 more worse than the Handler. And Handler is bad because she changes every way we thought that monsters were pronounced.
Oh yeah, she pronounces every monster wrong. So we should mention
English
this is
translation.
Handler is the basically the companion character who you have to deal with in Monster Hunter World. And what?
She is there to assist you and help you collect the research on the monsters.
I think you know what? She's also one of those, my main character is silent and we needed some way to have the character to actually voice.
But the thing is, you would never say anything that she ever says.
No, she makes you facepalm constantly. And she's the worst. I hear that Japan thinks that puns are hilarious. So they might really like Handler. She does make a lot of puns.
But her English voice actor is not the best.
Yeah, her voice actor is just terrible.
Oh, there's another one.
I'm okay.
Sorry, Pokemon.
I got Pokemon there.
What's going on? Okay. So, why is Handler the worst? Just because you can't agree with her on everything? She's your only voice.
She's the only voice. She says everything wrong.
She says everything wrong.
And she's basically canonizing stupid ways to say names that people have been saying. And that's really not what makes her so bad. It's the fact that she gets you into trouble.
She does get you into trouble a lot. Now, given if she didn't get you into trouble, I guess it just could have been written differently to get you into that battle.
Everything that she says, and it's not just how bad her voice actress is. It's a bad voice actress. You just want to scream at her, tell her to shut up. But it's the fact that every single thing that she says just makes you want to facepalm or roll your eyes. That she's the worst. She drives me insane with that crap.
And you have to talk to her pretty frequently to get quests and so on and so forth. And she always has 3 dialogue balloons that you have to click through before you can get to her menu.
Yeah, but that's a Monster Hunter thing in general. Almost
just way
every
too many
single
dialogue balloons.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
Yeah, I think the worst part is that you're a silent character and she has to be your voice. And I think that's probably the worst part of it.
Right.
That's a giant Empoleon out there. Okay. Next, number 4, worse than Handler.
Worse than the Handler.
Is Rosemary from Metal Gear Solid
2. Metal Gear Solid 2.
And 4.
And 4. She's not as bad in 4.
She improves in 4.
Yeah, but
2 is
where
two's
the problem.
Shines the brightest.
God. So, if you haven't played Metal Gear Solid 2, we're not going to make much of a spoiler here. Yeah, so Rosemary is this character who you are dealing with over the codec, which is your way to communicate with other characters in the game while you're sneaking around and stuff. So, Rose is supposed to be Raiden's girlfriend, who for some reason and it's really complicated and weird because it's Metal Gear, but has to basically talk with you through your missions. And to make things even worse, you have to talk to her because she is your outlet for saving.
Yes.
So you have to talk to her. And she is
going to bring up some annoying dialogue every single time.
Yeah, she's basically really annoying girlfriend. The character. Like, there's not much more to it other than she's just, like, so obnoxious. You hear her talk.
The spoiler stuff to explain why.
I don't think so. You hear her talk and you're like, okay, you two should not be a couple. Just stop. This is awful. It's like you're forced to listen to.
It reminds me of Squall and Renoa, but taken to a much higher level.
Yeah, you're really just like forced to listen to this, and you're like, oh my god, stop, please. She's like, just Raiden, come on, man. Just be the bigger man. Just let her go. Just stop
picking up the phone. But then he's like,
just stop picking up. He has to.
I can't save.
Right, I can't save. He has to in order to complete the game. So, and the fact that she eventually does start tying into the story, and you have to keep talking to her.
Makes it worse because her dialogue.
Yeah, it's so bad.
And I don't want to say her voice acting's bad because it's just kind of average. It's not.
That's not why she's bad.
That's not why she's bad in this case.
No, she's bad just because she's just written in a way that she's supposed to be irritating, I think.
Yeah,
and
I think
why would you ever write a character to be irritating?
Well, that's what I was saying about the honorable mentions. You can write a better character that does this job.
Yeah.
And not be annoying to the person who
Yes, you definitely could have.
Reading, playing, but that didn't happen.
No.
Instead, we got Rose.
Mm-hmm. Oh boy, did we get Rose.
Number 3. Worse than Rosemary and Handler. I just feel like I need to point this out.
Yeah? Oh yeah, because it's impressive how bad they all are.
Adam from Other M.
Oh. He almost didn't make the list because I legitimately forgot. I purged this out of my memory. I was like, nah, it just doesn't matter. But I went through all the games that I played before we did this, and I was like, how did we not talk about Adam from Other M? This is the point where your side characters are actually getting so bad, they are actually damaging the game itself. Like, the gameplay is actually starting to be affected.
You are losing because of this side character.
Everything is harder or more complicated, and it needlessly, just because of this one side character.
I feel like if that's the case, I should have brought up the Last Guardian thing because of that. But I didn't even play it, so I can't talk to it.
That's fair,
so.
yeah. I hear a lot of people are just like, have problems with the Last Guardian for that same reason. But, this is but still, dealing with, Adam in Other M is a nightmare. So, basically in a lot of, Metroid games, you're going to get, how do I say, you're gonna lose all of your abilities, somehow. It's just gonna happen. And when you lose all your abilities, obviously this is a reason for Samus to start from scratch and collect everything all over again. They tried to come up with a reason for why you do this in Other M, and I can appreciate the fact that they tried. But boy, is it just problematic, because Adam's reason is he doesn't want you to damage the ship that you're on. So instead, you have to listen to him and only use what he tells you when he tells you. And what's awful about this is there's so many things that Samus has that just protect her. They don't involve the ship's integrity whatsoever. I think only the power bomb actually, like, would possibly affect the ship. And I get that. Like, obviously, yeah, don't use the power bomb. But everything else, she's fine, and just keep her safe. And he's intentionally putting her in danger. And why does she even listen? It doesn't make sense.
Like,
story-wise, that's frustrating, but the fact that, like, you have to run through the hot areas for a good long while before Adam finally goes, Samus, activate your Varia suit. And then she, like, triumphantly activates the Varia suit. So what should have happened was, if they really wanted you to go through there first, maybe at the end of there you find your Variosuit upgrade, and you actually did lose all your items in the beginning of the game. That would have fixed so much.
So you're just saying Adam is the thing that's just telling you can't do this.
Yeah, he's like, you can do it, but he's telling you can't do it. So because of that, Samus is forced to listen, and
that's one of those cases where I feel like when your character's walking into a trap, a very obvious trap.
Yeah, an obvious trap.
And you're like, I don't want to walk into this trap, but you have to.
Right, I have to.
Reasons. And that's like the same thing.
I don't know. It's also that, like, I mean, the story in Other M is egregious, and Adam is a large part of that. So I kind of am putting him to blame for, like, he's ruining the story, and then he's also ruining the gameplay. And that's, like, about as bad as you could ever get with a side character.
Oh, but you can get worse, Alex. He is only our number 3.
Yeah, you can get worse. I wish you couldn't get worse, but you can get worse.
Handler, and worse than Rose, and worse than Adam is
Thanks for establishing that.
Favorite of worst, and that is Donald Duck.
Donald
from Kingdom Hearts.
Duck. Yes. Oh my god.
This character
you had to have played the game to really know what we're talking about here.
He will use your items.
Yes.
Without asking.
With no permission, he will use your items.
He will use your items. He will drain his magic, and not to heal you, but to cast black magic on something that might not even be weak to black magic.
Well, also, say you are dying, and Donald, because he's the magic guy, right? So, and he can either
He's essentially your red mage.
Yeah, he can either heal or deal damage, and basically all the time he chooses the wrong thing. So when say you are almost dead, and obviously the correct decision is heal Sora.
His programming should be keep you alive.
Keep Sora alive. Instead,
if you die, the game is over.
He says like a little bit of damage is on Goofy. Time to heal Goofy with Kiraga. Waste all my MP, or then cast the biggest like fire spell on a tiny little enemy when there's a huge thing in the room, and then he just wasted his MP, and now he won't cast the right thing.
AI is just painfully bad.
Right.
It causes you to lose on so many cases. Like, it should be set to focus on the main character, because if Sora dies, it's game over.
Right,
like,
yeah, the end.
You don't get to suddenly get to play as Goofy and revive Sora like you would in newer games. Maybe not Kingdom Hearts, but yeah.
But
I'm saying like in like Xenoblade or something like that. You
right,
know?
yeah. Well, no, that's the same way. If the main character goes down, you can't pick them back up again. But still, it's possible if you have enough to. Complicated. So, the reason that Donald was actually worse than Adam was we were like, okay, so aside from him being actually so much worse in gameplay, because this is a party member that's like actively out to hinder you. He's designed to be a helpful red mage, but instead,
if you can remove him from your party, you will.
You actually might be doing better if you could remove him from the party, yes. And he's just an all-around problem, and then you have to deal with him in the story and listen to.
I mean, that's Kingdom Hearts story. I'm not saying it's hurting the story.
Yeah, right. I mean, there's nothing to save there. But the problem is, like, Donald Duck is still a main character in this, and you have to deal with him.
The gameplay is just so painful, and it can be random. At least with Adam, it was scripted. You knew it was going to happen if it was your second time playing it. If you died from that, then you're going to play it again, and then that'll happen. But Donald, it could be at any point. It could be random when he's going to decide, I don't want to heal you anymore.
Right.
Or I'm going to waste all of my like MP on black magic, and it's just...
I really feel like he is just a random red mage. I don't know why they screwed up so
hurtful.
badly.
If you were to remove him, you would save your healing items.
Yeah, I feel like you actually improve the game drastically by removing him.
Right, like you would save your healing items. You don't have to listen to him anymore. You would save on MP.
So you talking about this list, I'm like, or if it was actually turn-based and you could command Donald, there'd be nothing wrong.
The thing is, I just don't understand.
He would not even be on this list at all if that game were turn-based.
FF12 came out after Kingdom Hearts, but it was still, there was a system in it to which you could tell your AIs in which order that you need to do things.
I'm just realizing now I completely forgot to go to the swamp. Whatever.
So, worse than all 4 of these,
yep.
we have our number 1 worst side character ever in history. Could not get worse than this. Is Fi from Skyward Sword.
Yes.
So, yeah, I guess it's not surprising that Fi is the worst character.
She makes me want to kill myself. I hate her so much.
She hinders story, she hinders gameplay.
The gameplay, she hinders everything. She is the absolute worst.
And what did they do when they remastered it?
Basically tried to shut her up and like remove her from the game. That was them fixing, like their updates to Skyward Sword for the new version were to try and make this character go away. That's what they chose to do. That's how bad she is.
Literally, she's just that bad.
Yes, like, she's awful.
When the company who makes the game admits that was a bad decision.
And actively like tries to remove the character from the game, because that's what they did.
Right.
They tried to remove Fi, I say it backwards all the time, from the game.
You can't get worse than that.
No.
You just can't. Do we need to explain why she is awful?
I explained basically all of it in my review of Skyward Sword, which is extremely long if you want to hear about how bad she is.
Fi, and we didn't discuss it when we talked about Eslo. We need to talk about Navi at the same time.
Navi is nothing compared to Fi. Fi is like, they listened to people complaining about Navi, and they were thinking, this is what makes the greatest character ever, because everyone is talking about Navi. This is so good. We need to figure out exactly why they're talking about Navi and just like coalesce all of this damage that we could possibly do into one character. What does Navi do that's irritating? Constantly stop your progress and nag you about stupid things all the time. What if we made a character that did it more, with an obnoxious pinging sound that wouldn't stop unless you listened to them? What if like we had a character that popped up even
in battle,
at any point, name any point, Link is taking a dump, Navi pops up, Link, there is a 10% chance that you forgot to wipe your butt.
Fi. You said Navi.
No, Navi, or Fairy, God, the Fi, the sword one.
Fi.
The sword one, Fi. Fi. Fi, Fi, Fo, Fum, that one. She is awful.
Awful, awful.
Awful. It's like she, like, you walk close to a hot room, and she has to pop up and tell you, Link, you're on fire. You should, like, do this thing. Like, I know.
Feel like that has to be the top of our list, because
not only does she, like, impede the story, she impedes the gameplay, and she, like, makes the entire game feel like it is testing your patience and trying your intelligence by thinking that you are too stupid to figure out any part of this game. You're a complete idiot. That's how this game treats you. And it hurts me. I hate that. Like, it's a Zelda game. It's a puzzle game. And it's not even that tough. You know, and the fact that we're just, like, forced to deal with this horrible, horrible character who's holding your hand through the entire game. And it's a long game. It might be the longest Zelda game, I'm not sure about that. But it's like so awful. God, Kim, it's awful.
I know, it's so bad. So those are our top 5 worst characters.
Yes.
Side characters.
Side characters, because there are bad main characters that we didn't even get a chance to talk about.
Right, like.
No, not likes, because we will get there when we get there. And I'm sure there's other really horrible characters that you guys would also like to talk about that we haven't even discussed in here.
I'm sure everybody's got opinions on it.
On horrible characters.
We always side characters.
Side characters.
Because everybody talks about your villains, everybody talks about your heroes.
The protagonists and the antagonists, right.
Let's talk about those side people that can really make or break a game.
Exactly. Oh, and the fact that that's the real problem with some of these. They're either making the game much better just by them existing, or they're making the game so much worse, and you just want to stop.
It's just such a big insult. How do we fix this game? Let's remove 5 from this game.
Yeah, if you remove 5 from Skyward Sword, you just made a better Skyward Sword. Like, no question about it. You just made the game better. And we're like, what? Why was she there? I don't know who actually like designed the game and thought, yes, we should add a character like this.
And I just want to also point out when it comes to these side characters, like most of them aren't making or breaking a game. Metal Gear Solid 2 is still a good game.
Yeah, it's a really great game.
Monster Hunter World is still a good game.
It's a really good game, yeah. I rated both of them very highly when I reviewed them.
But Other M is awful.
Oh, and I have also... I will review that eventually. But
it hits all sides of the gamut. You can have
I did review Skyward Sword, and Fi was a large part of why it was so awful, but mostly because...
Right. I'm just saying...
It's all in general.
Still have
she's a bad character in a bad game.
You can still have a good game, right, with bad characters, and you can still have a bad game
with good characters. Yeah, is that possible?
Work that way?
I'd have to think of examples. Give us some examples down in the comments if you've got any of that. But either way, we had a nice little excursion running around this coastal area, even though I was supposed to be going to the swamp halfway through it, but I got too caught up in what we were talking about.
You got too caught up in why these were just awful.
I know, I knew that was going to happen too, but either way,
but everybody on our good list, those are just good games.
Yeah, those were good games. Yeah, that was good. Go play them. Go play the Messenger. But anyway, that is
it's colorful. And
you should.
The
music
beautiful.
is awesome. Yeah, great soundtrack. Anyway, thank you all for tuning into this episode of HITBOX. If you enjoy the show, you can help us keep it alive by supporting us on Patreon with the links in the show notes and this video's description. For those of you on YouTube, remember to like this video and subscribe for more, and be sure to let us know what you thought of the show and what other topics you'd like to hear us cover in the future. And special thanks to all of our amazing Patreon members.
Bye-bye.